Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, on the third session of today. It's the fifth time Business Market is giving a webinar. And this is the English version. We always give three versions, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 5 o'clock in different languages. I'll welcome also many German people, as I've seen there are quite some people from Germany on the guest list of this evening session. Well, this session will be about structurally engaging your employees. And apparently, it's a hot topic, as we've seen that hundreds of people listen today to the inspiring speech of Lucia. We already gave a couple of webinars. Last ones were about strategy, OGSM, about batteries of sales, about the rocket to experts, and about customer experience. We have planned 6 more experiences, and it's every first Wednesday of the month. So happy to join. About this platform, you are on Livestorm now, and if you look at the right side of your screen, you can open it and you see 2 buttons. The first one is about questions. So if you have a question, don't hesitate, you can ask it. If it's a technical question, the moderator will immediately help you and solve it. If it's more about the content, Lucia will in the end look at the questions and answer your questions. So don't hesitate to ask your questions or give compliments if you want. Use the second button, and that's about polls. In our webinars, we integrate quite some polls. So if you open it, you can participate to the poll and then see the opinion of you and the other people. So that's about the technical part. Now, who is Business Markers? Well, Business Markers is a group of experienced people that help ambitious organizations to grow. I know that you and many other companies have very good people on board, but often there is kind of an expert missing to accelerate growth or to make sure that you're ready for the future. That's what we are doing with a bunch of experienced people and on the 4 cornerstones for a company. One is strategy, going from vision to really action and making sure that your people are engaged behind it. The engaged people, that's where it will be about today. The third building block for your company is valuable customers. That's where we help companies on sales and marketing excellence programs. And the last cornerstone is operational excellence. Now, that's enough about business markers. What's the core today is that Lucia will explain you more about structurally engaging people. Who is Lucia? Lucia, well, I met her for the first time at Coca-Cola. She was a very nice colleague, but she also worked at Unilever, Mondelez, and Lola and Lisa. So experience in fast-moving B2C, but also in the retail. And on top of that, she has quite some knowledge about coaching people. Now, Lucia is more than titles and companies. The most special thing is that she is really, how would I call it in English? In Dutch I said, een schat van een madame. So she is a darling to work with. Up to you, Lucia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction, Edith. Okay, good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I hope you're ready for this webinar. I will talk for about 50 minutes, 50, and then we have 10 minutes left for Q&A. And today we will look at how you can structurally adjust certain matters in your company or in your operations so that you increase the long-term engagement of your employees. And I will give you as many tips and tricks as possible so that you can start immediately yourself. But let's start at the beginning. Employee engagement, what is that exactly? It is not the same as happiness or job satisfaction, because it's perfectly possible to be happy or satisfied in your job without being really committed. So I looked at Wikipedia, and the difference I found is in performance. The definition on Wikipedia says an engaged employee is defined as one who is fully absorbed by and enthusiastic about their work, and so takes positive action to further the organization's reputation and interest. An engaged employee has a positive attitude towards the organization and its values. Well, that's quite a long definition, and we at Business Markets, we made, let's say, a more bold and sharp one. And we say that a committed employee is someone who gives the best of himself every day with full enthusiasm in function of the goals and the values of the company. That's even shorter than what you see on the screen. So, if you know what employee engagement is, then I would like to hear from you what you think about the following question. How many people, how many percentage of your employees are motivated according to the most recent study done by Gallup? So how many in percentage of the employees are really engaged? You can go to the poll. You can choose amongst 5 options. We'll also look at your votes. Oh, I see a wide spread. Most of the people think it's something between 40 and 60. Yeah, 45% of you think that. Well, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's only 15%, 1/5. So only 15% of the employees are really engaged. That means that 85% is not. That's a problem. I mean, no, it's a big opportunity to increase the 15%. And why is that then so important? Why is this commitment of your employees so important? Well, there are a lot of advantages, and I will quickly go through them. First of all, there's an increase in productivity and innovation because your employees will give the best of themselves. They will also make better decisions because they understand where the organization wants to go. They know what makes you unique to your customers, so they will build a stronger brand. And they will, of course, automatically increase customer satisfaction, because for an enthusiastic employee, the customer is central, and he will do everything to make him or her satisfied. The person himself or herself is also happier, which improves his or her personal health, and this reflects on his or her environment. There is even research that says that their children have better results if mama or papa is an engaged employee. That's nice. Satisfied employees will also stay longer in your company, so the retention is higher. And then, last but not least, they are your best ambassadors. They will help you to attract new employees and thus support your recruitment. In fact, the link between employee engagement and business results is one of the most researched and proven links. In this case, the studies do not contradict each other. So the conclusion is very clear. Both your employees, your organization, and the results, they all benefit from a rising employee engagement. So it's time to act. And how do we do this? For sure, we don't want blanks like this team has got a t-shirt. That won't make the difference. Yes, you can, we go for it, whatever. No, we need structural interventions. That means that the answer is not only to be found in an HR policy, it's broader. The entire organization will be involved. Now, before digging deeper into it, I just want to make one remark. Motivation is fundamentally something personal and intrinsic. That means that as a person, you can do a lot yourself. There's a lot of tips and tricks that you can read about this on social media or in articles and books, but I will not go into that today. Today, I will focus on what entrepreneurs, what team leaders, what they can do when they are looking for tools to structurally ensure that their people and their teams give the best of themselves. So my target today is you in your role as a team leader. Now, we developed for that a model, and we will go through that together. Now, employee engagement has something a bit magical, something like chemistry, in which different elements react with each other. So we made a laboratory out of it. And you see it already here appearing. The laboratory consists of 3 main parts. The blue part is all about clarify. It's imperative to be very clear about a number of elements in your business operations. And that clarity will provide understanding and insights for your employees. The second element is about cultivate. It's your culture. And the third element, the yellow part, is about communication. You never communicate enough. But we start in the upper left corner with clarify. And within that part, we see as first element your purpose and your values. There we go. The laboratory has started. Purpose and values, that is in fact the core of the company. It tells you why you exist, what you want to offer, and how you're going to do that. In fact, it's the answer to three very important questions: why, what, and how. Why? That's your purpose. That's your cause. That's your belief that drives you forward. It's what makes you jump out of bed in the morning. The what, that is in fact what you promise to deliver to the customer. And the how, that are your values, how you want to do things. Because two companies maybe offer the same product or the same service, but in a different way. And that is what will make you unique, what will differentiate you from each other. So it is important to give answers to these questions to all your employees. Oops, I see that I didn't click on the slide. I'm sorry for that. Here you go. So I said, yes, it's important to give answers to these questions for your employees. Because as human beings, we all have this innate urge to belong, to be part of something bigger. And if your purpose is clear, your employees can connect with it, and they will be inspired to work towards it. It is, in fact, the first important step to structurally build an emotional bond between your employees and their work. So if you have not yet clearly formulated the answer to these questions, this is definitely the priority in what you need to tackle structurally. We will, by the way, hosting a new webinar on this topic in February next year. Once your purpose and your values have been established, it's important to communicate about this on a very regular basis. One of our customers, Tobania, for example, does this very well. Their promise is your wingman making digital work. And they repeat this regularly, both internally to their own employees and externally. And they also show how they realize that purpose in very concrete projects or results. And they keep on building it. Here you see two screenshots of their CEO and their CFO. Another idea is to actively work with your people on their personal purpose, because we all have a personal purpose, a personal mission. If each and every employee can find and formulate his or her personal purpose, then he or her can also link that to the company's purpose. And if they're linked, and if this person sees that by coming to work every day, he or she contributes to his own personal mission, then you have a boost in commitment. I would like to show you the video of Chris Michiels from Unilever, who has something to say about this.
For Unilever, we believe that a company with purpose lasts, brands with purpose grow, and people with purpose thrive. So we think it's really important that together with our people, we invest time in discovering their own personal purpose. And that's why we created a journey that we call the Discover Your Purpose journey, and we take all our employees through that journey so that they can discover what gives them energy, what wakes them up in the morning, and that they understand why they do what they do.
The Discover Your Purpose journey. Now, these examples are already concrete tips in themselves, but I would like to give you a few more. First of all, check your purpose and your values, if you have them, by asking this week to, let's say, minimum 5 people, and ask them the open question, what they remember about it, what they know about it, and what it means to them. And then draw your conclusions from that. A second tip is, well, I would advise you to go for an extra communication this year. We are at the end of a very special year, of a crisis year, let's say. So I would like you to integrate your purpose and your values in your Christmas message. Look back at what the year has done for you as a company and how you managed to continue to support your purpose in this crisis, how you have remained true to your values, and use a few concrete examples to illustrate that to your people. Okay, let's go back to the lab. Second step now is the strategic plan. Having a goal is often mentioned in the same breath as purpose and values, but I think that the two are too different to bring them together. So I would like to split that and have a strategic plan separately. What is a strategic plan? Well, it's something very concrete and it sets a target for a specific period, let's say 3 years. It's your flag on the horizon. It's important that your entire company has then a very clear and pragmatic plan that describes how you're going to achieve that flag, so how you're going to achieve that goal. For doing that, we use a very handy model that is called OGSM. It's the business plan on one page. And it's a great way of thinking and working because it obliges you to make very clear choices. You only have one page, so it needs to fit in there. Because you have only one page, it's also an ideal tool for communication. And you can use it as a dashboard for follow-up for the implementation afterwards. If you would like to have more information about this, I advise you to request the replay of the webinar that my colleague Ides has done on this subject. So, if you make this plan at company level and you have, let's say, a fairly large company, then you can break down the plan into departments. You can cascade it through your organization in a very clear way. And as a kind of waterfall system, the story falls down into increasingly concrete plans at department level or team level. Anyone in the organization will then have his or her to-dos in it. And precisely because it all hangs together logically, every employee also sees very well what their contribution is in the bigger picture. And that is really crucial for motivation and engagement. That is the clarity how you contribute to the bigger picture. Also the clarity around what is expected from you. Clarity about what is priority and what your focus should be. And that brings us immediately to the next lever in our lab, which is roles and responsibilities. As I said, clarity about priorities, about your focus and your expectations ensures clear roles and responsibilities. We call those priority projects, we call them bears. And your bears, they must be your focus because that is what is going to make the difference. And when you hunt for bears, you should not be distracted by chicken and eggs. Chicken and eggs? What are those? Well, let me ask you a question. What is the first thing you do in the morning once you sit at your desk? I am sure you start by checking your inbox. And what is in your inbox? Eggs, emails. Emails are eggs that we love to produce and pass on to each other. So you start to process your eggs, meaning classify a few, pass on a few, deleting some others, and you're getting a feeling that you're doing well because you're very busy and your inbox is coloring unread. And what do you do then? Oh, well, then we go in meeting, of course. And the meeting room, or live or virtual, that's the chicken chat. That's where we talk and talk and talk. Nothing against it, but we're still not working on our pairs. When we're coming back to our desk, what do we do then? Right, the inbox again, collecting eggs. And so it goes all day long. chicken and eggs, that are the issues of the day. And of course, you also need to do those, but more importantly, you need to liberate time to work on your focus projects. By the way, we hear more and more from business leaders that since the lockdown, people are now sending even more emails and are even more in meetings as if they have to prove themselves in this way that they're very busy. So I would say it's really important that you work structurally with your people to shoot bears. Because if you're focused on your big projects, you will end up in a kind of flow, and that flow that gives you energy and satisfaction, and automatically your engagement will grow. Now, these bears have become a well-established concept for a number of our customers. Employees know what their bears are, and they decide for themselves how they spend their day when they work on what. You give them a certain degree of autonomy in this, which is also a driver for engagement. And if some of your employees would still have difficulties with it, we have our focus book that can help them. By the way, for some, the bear is a visual reminder on their desk. If you don't give him enough attention, he can get very angry, as you can see in the video. So my concrete tips to structurally improve your employee engagement, that is, of course, focus on your bears. Secondly, describe clearly roles and responsibilities rather than tasks in too long job descriptions. The world is changing at such a fast pace that you can't keep up with it anyway. And then a third is provide sufficient autonomy and strengthen accountability in every job. Engagement increases as people have a certain degree of control. Now, roles and responsibilities are in our lab directly linked to personal development, because it's about your personal growth within your role and your responsibility. This piece of the lab is about learning. It's about having a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. It's about performance management and giving feedback. It's about career management. It's also about bonuses and incentives, and therefore about pay and benefits. It's very interesting, but I would like to elaborate on this in a next opportunity. As final elements that you can plan structurally and that will contribute to a lot of clarity within your company, that is the last part here, is management and processes. Now, management and processes, that is something that does not appear very often in books and articles about employee engagement. However, it is very important because it's here that you can structurally anchor desired behavior. This is the lever about how you organize things, what your processes and systems are that ensure that you will achieve your results. So they must be in line with what you promise in your purpose and your values. That's why it is on top of the lab. It's linked with purpose and values. Otherwise, you will have an inauthentic culture. Let me make that a bit more concrete with an example how not to do it. Suppose that you're a business leader and that you think innovation is very important in your company. So in your values, you state that you want to be pioneering or trend-setting or something like that. And then within your company, someone has a new idea and he wants to develop that idea. But your procedure says that he must first prepare or file a complete dossier, a business plan, etc., that needs to be validated by a certain committee. And that committee that meets only once a month. That's a bit unfortunate. So yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that you will have killed a lot of initiatives before they even started. So that is how you should not do it. What should you do then? Well, it is quite simple. Suppose that you have determined your purpose and your values, your promise too, then the first logical step is to communicate about it. And what is then very nice is to create a real event around it. That's ideal for letting your employees experience firsthand what the purpose and the values are and what they mean. Example here, what we did at Technopolis. They established new purpose and values, and the values form the acronym CODE. So we launched the renewed values, and people were challenged to crack the code. And we built a lot of activities around it, and every activity had to do something with the content of each of the values. So people really lived, felt the values and the new purpose that was decided. In the next step, then, you will start to concretize. What does that mean? Well, people are going to talk about what the purpose and the values specifically mean in their jobs. For example, if I'm on a sales team and we want to bring the value entrepreneurship to life, what does that mean? What does that mean that I have to do then? What will I do more? And maybe what should I stop doing? In other words, you make the values concrete in concrete behavior. And here you have a picture of a workshop that we did like that with Standard Boekhandel and Club. So you see that the teams are gathering together and discussing together about what it means for them in their jobs. Now, this discussion results in agreements that you can record at team level or organization level, which actually means that you're recording or adjusting your processes and your procedures. In this way, you're actually anchoring your purpose and your values. And then it's again very important to inform everyone about these new or modified procedures. Possibly you even need training or coaching because maybe it's something very new and people need to be trained around it. Another example that is linked to processes is Tony Chocolonis. You might know the brand. It's a chocolate brand, and their values are outspoken, willful, make you smile, and entrepreneurial. Now, they also checked these values against their processes, and they concluded that their employment contract was a very boring legal thing. So they revised it and they brought it in line with their values. And now it looks like this. It literally looks like this with these colors and this layout. You can say this is outspoken and this makes me smile. You immediately feel who they are and what they stand for. They call it, by the way, their ticket of trust. So furthermore, some more tips. I would say trust, yes. When writing procedures, then trust your people and assume good intentions. Don't make it a law book. In a law book, you would list every possible mistake and you would anticipate, maybe even put in some sanctions. I would really not do that. So trust your people. Second tip is apply the trick of the purple hippo. That's a specific day that you can organize where everyone can critically question all the processes and procedures. They can challenge them and they can suggest solutions. So after one day, you really made a cleanup of everything what is redundant. Now that means that we're done with the left side of the lab. We have gone through all the aspects that you can plan and organize with the aim of creating as much clarity as possible. I would like to measure the temperature in the room, in this virtual room. How do you score your own efforts, in your own company, in your own team on these aspects? How much efforts did you do till today to structurally create clarity? Score yourself like in school. A 0 is a complete lack of clarity or a complete lack of efforts even, and 10 to 10 is perfect. Let me see. Whoa, that's a very spread score. A couple of people voting 7, but also some people have 3, 4, and 5s. That's a bit better. One person has voted 8 and 9. That already looks fine. It's a very spread score. It's interesting to see. Thank you very much for that. Then we go to the right side of the laboratory. Laboratorium, yes. We come to culture. Your company culture, that's in fact the sum of all the behaviors and the beliefs of your employees, both internal and external. Your culture can be observed in a number of things, but it's also mainly intangible. It's a feeling, it's a vibe, it's a mindset. Now here too, you can already see that we have 5 parts where we will go through together. And we start with leadership. Yes, it appears on my screen. Now you can see that on top of the lab, leadership has a connection with purpose and values. Of course, because leaders have an exemplary role in your company and in your culture. They will, propagate this through their attitude, through their communication, and through their decisions. The purpose and the values will also drive your culture. So that's why it is a so important connection there at the top. Now, about leaders, you might know this quote. People don't quit jobs, they quit managers. So the quality of your leaders is, in fact, a huge factor in the engagement and the retention of your employees. If your employees trust their supervisor, believe in their supervisor, they are more likely to remain enthusiastic about your company. So the leaders really have a crucial role. By focusing on hiring and developing excellent leaders, you will harness this power of this phenomenon and thus significantly increase engagement. Now, we do not have time today to elaborate on all the attributes of inspirational leadership. I can talk a whole webinar about that. What I would like to say is something briefly about leadership in COVID-19 times. I would like to give you 4 main things that leaders should definitely do now in these times of crisis. The first thing is shared direction. Give direction. Because so much has changed in the world that employees today really want to know what the impact is of the crisis on the company, what the impact is on the vision and the plans. Some leaders tell me, yeah, but now it's not the time to step on the stage and to talk to the people. Now I should keep things going. No, that's a bad reflex. In this crisis, everyone wants to know again and again what the direction is and what the bigger story is. So repeat your purpose and how you can achieve it now even more than ever. Repeat your values and show how relevant they are even in this crisis. Repeat your strategic plan and where the focus is now. And maybe some things have changed within the plan. And then explain why. Explain why it's changed due to the crisis. And then let everyone provide feedback on the effect it has on his or her respective projects. Now you see all the time here a visual of STIP MVP. Well, that is because recently the CEO really made time to participate in this kind of sessions with his teams of marketing, sales, and networking. And this effort of him was really very much appreciated. A second element that I want to share with you is about shared empathy. Also, this one is very important, even more than before, because it's always important as a leader to share empathy, but now even more in this crisis. You have to listen to your people. You have to be open and empathize with the different situations they're in. You have to show understanding and look for solutions together. Show also your own vulnerability because you are not able to have answers to everything, and you can tell them. It's important to connect and to really make time for that. Because connection, that is in fact what we miss most now. The connections amongst each other. The informal chats in between, at the coffee machine, in the corridor before and after a meeting. So it's very nice, in fact, what the CEO of Team Leader recently has done to bring coffee literally to his own employees. Now, another maybe a bit more simple trick to share empathy is to open your virtual meetings 10 minutes earlier by default. Anyone who wants to can already log in and chat with whoever who is there. And the same with 10 minutes after each meeting. In this kind of chit chat, creativity pops up. That is the same as we did in the corridor of our offices. So take time for that. Block it in your agenda as a leader and be sure you can also from time to time participate in it. Third element then as a leader in the crisis is about shared expectations. This is about sharing of what your people expect, as the word says it. It comes down to situational leadership. I guess that the basic principles of situational leadership are known to most of you. It means adapting your behavior and your style according to the experience and the motivation of the employee. In this crisis, you can go one step further and also take the entire person with all his or her expectations and needs and into account. For example, someone with an introverted preference will respond differently to that than an extrovert. And that's why I have deliberately chosen the mat of insights discovery here on this picture. I am an insights trainer myself. And for me, insights is in fact the perfect tool to learn how to discuss expectations. For example, autonomy. It's a big word, but for some people, complete freedom is the ideal. And for others, they will still like someone to monitor and to structure for them. So talk about your employees. Talk about it with your employees, what they mean with autonomy. Clarify it. As a first tip, and that's a bit of a bouncer, I would say provide something to look forward to. Plan something fun now that you will do as soon as possible. And with now, plan now, I mean brainstorm now and decide now on what you're going to do once that we're allowed to do. You can already plan for a date or a period that you then will confirm once that we're allowed. Okay, that about leadership. Let's go back to the lab and we go to recognition. When talking about recognition, I'm sure you might think about money. But I'll tell you something. It's never, ever, ever all about the money. Yes, a cash award or a bonus is, of course, a nice to have. It's nice to receive, and in some cases, it will indeed be motivating. But in almost every scenario I come across, the employee says that what he or she perceived most as recognition is the message. And here it often goes wrong. We don't really learn how to do that. And it's not part of our culture. Remember when you were a kid and when you came home with your report, it was probably more about that one bad score than about the 10 good points. Also, I was told a couple of years ago, when I was a team leader myself, that I had to give my team enough recognition. And I said, but I do that. I know how to do that because I say, well done after a presentation, or I send a little email when, like a nice email, when someone had written an email, for example, to a customer. So I did a lot of big thumbs and go and things like that. So I thought I'm very good in recognizing my people. But it is only a first step. In fact, if you really want to touch people, you have to go a step further. And I advise you to put words on what you liked so much. State why you appreciate your colleague or what he or she is so good at. Because we know that it's not always that easy, we have developed a very simple tool, and it's called the compliment game. It's a very nice box with 110 cards, and on the cards are all kinds of appropriate quotes, appropriate to a business context. These cards give you an impulse to give someone an appropriate positive message. And on the back of the card, you can also write something personal. So that way you make the compliment even more impactful. Now, we applied this, of course, ourselves last year during our strategic offsite. And during those 3 days that we were together, everyone had to give at least one compliment card to each of the colleagues. And it was wonderful to see how everyone spontaneously made an effort to write something striking and to take the time to look each other in the eyes and express our appreciation. Now, the warmth and connection that you then feel in your team, that is really something fantastic. And since then, we have been applying it regularly in the team's week guides. And you just feel that the trust in each other is growing, that the eyes are twinkling because they have heard from each other that they are appreciated. It's a bit, in fact, like putting money on each other's emotional bank account. And when there's money on that account, that's a metaphor, of course, then you create connection. And within that connection, it's also possible on one day or another to give feedback that is maybe less positive. Because of that connection, it's possible, it will be accepted because the other person knows you appreciate me for other things. So this feedback is in that context of making me grow. Now, compliment cards is one thing, but if you want to incorporate this in a structural way, you must not only set the good example as a leader, you must keep on taking initiatives till it becomes a regular habit for all the colleagues. I would like to give you, therefore, a couple of extra ideas that might inspire you. For example, one of our customers is Solora, and they do a weekly circle per team on Friday evening. Nowadays, of course, it's virtual, and there virtually you can use, of course, Teams and Zoom, but you can also do it with WhatsApp. So it's not necessary that people all have computers. Because often when talking about Zoom and virtual meetings, we think about white-collar people, but on a smartphone and WhatsApp, we all have that in our pockets. Now, an extra idea to do when you do this kind of circle is that everyone gives one other person a praise for what has happened in the past week. It may also be something for which you're grateful, because that is also a form of appreciation. And if you do this on a Friday evening, everyone will happily enter the weekend. Now, that's nice. Another idea is what we have seen at TVH. They hand out awards, and not once per year, but really bi-monthly. Bi-monthly, they choose the employee in the spotlights. So everyone can vote, and then they give this award to someone who did a remarkable action in line with one of the company values. And then there are some additional nice prizes next to the trophy that you see here, like a picture with the CEO and the family, because TVH is a family-owned company. This picture with everybody on it that appears on different places in the company, like in the company restaurant, on the intranet, in their magazine, etc. Now, the idea of awards, you can also extend it to teams, because awards have the advantage of providing visibility throughout the company, and visibility makes it extra powerful. So if you do that with teams, you can also balance, let's say, the attention that quite naturally goes to sales teams. As sales teams, they're easily in the picture because they win a deal or they acquire a customer, and other teams, yeah, well, they don't get this kind of flowers. So an award that is given to teams can balance that kind of, yeah, let's say, frustration and this source of disengagement. Now, another last idea is just a very funny one. It's not from TVH, even if it appears on this slide. That is the Golden Toilet Awards. It is for the employee who took care of shit gracefully and with class. I really like that. Programs like this you can organize structurally, and they make a big difference in motivation and engagement. In addition, pride, sense of belonging, and self-esteem will also increase. And those are basic needs according to Maslow's pyramid. So getting recognition really contributes enormously to both. So it's a good idea to invest the time and effort in it. Let's go then to relations. And I have to look at time, I'm talking too long now. Relations. You might think about communication here, but in fact, what I want to elaborate upon is about friendship. Yeah, you can't expect colleagues to be friends, but multiple studies have shown that companies where friendships are common have more engaged employees. Gallup found that close work friendships increase employee satisfaction by 50%, while people who say they have a friend at work are 7 times more likely to be engaged. So fostering a sense of community and connection and friendship in the workplace can and should therefore be a strategic and structural part of your corporate culture. Now you will raise the question, how do we do that? Because we cannot force people to become friends. No, of course not. The answer lies in structurally providing a portion of fun, which means that you have to consciously and structurally create opportunities where people have fun and can connect in a relaxed way. This way you create the context and the rest will come naturally because context drives behavior. Now, an example is an annual team building, of course. Here again, we did with people from TVH, a strategic work during the day. And in the evening, we made a big bonfire and we started talking about about stories from our childhood. Very nice and good for the personal connection. Now you again have to talk more frequently than once a year in a team building. So another idea is the check-ins. You can start every team meeting with a check-in question. For example, how are you feeling today? How are you sitting here? And then you do a tour of everyone around and everyone says, maybe with the help of emojis, how he or she feels. You can also invite people to tell something personal. And this way people get to know each other better and they find a common ground. And a common ground is the base for trust and friendship. Another idea is to link it to well-being. You can challenge your teams to take on certain challenges, like walking around the world in 1 month, doing enough steps to achieve that, certain cycling initiatives, or participating in the 10 miles of Antwerp together, etc. People love this game element and you will kill 2 birds in 1 stone. The last one is then to encourage people to have lunch together and to talk about other things than work. This is, of course, a pre-corona picture with another type of employees, because most of my tips are, of course, applicable on both white and collar. To end the relationship part, well, I know you can't force it, but your goal is to create the right environment. And then we go to the next lever, that is well-being. Very often employee engagement is equated with well-being, and well-being gets, rightly so, a lot of attention in articles and books and on social media. It concerns very different initiatives like nutrition, exercise, sleep, personal motivation, as I talked in the beginning, time and energy management, etc. It has its place in the lab of employee engagement. It's for sure not the same. It's only one driver. My advice is also to organize this in a structural way. Make conscious long-term choices amongst all the options and go for the long term. The last one within culture is about the workspace. The workspace that is both the physical but also the virtual workspace. We will not go into this in more detail today, but I would like to give you one advice. You remember that until Corona, we were all struggling to balance our work-life balance. And the Corona crisis has suddenly turned almost all of us into remote workers. As a result, we have all started to mix our private life with our professional life as much as possible. So as a result, we're talking nowadays more and more about work-life integration instead of work-life balance. It's all mixed up, it's integrated. My advice to you is to already start to review now your policies regarding flexible working. Maybe it was non-negotiable in certain company in a certain time, but now it is a must. We will never return to full-time office work again. And flexibility, autonomy, and a healthy integration of work and life will be an engagement driver. So think already now about how you're going to organize this and what your policies will be in this regard. So that means that we're done with the right part of the lab. And again, I would like to ask you to fill in the poll to see to what extent you already do efforts on this part of the engagement lab. You can submit your vote. Woo! Yeah, here we have, oh, people are still voting. 2, 3, 4, up till 9. It's very spread. Yeah, so there's a lot of room for improvement for some of you. That's for sure. Okay, I need to speed up a little bit. We go to the lower part of the lab and we talk about communication. This part of communication is not about the personal communication, like between two people. It's not about the information, but it's about the communication that you structurally organize to inform all your people, both on professional and more emotional items. It asks for a professional approach for planning and for good execution. And you have to combine it with flexibility. And the lab is therefore set up in such a way that all the previous aspects that we have gone through, they are connected to a kind of element here at the bottom. And there the drips fall into, so that gives you content for communication. Now, it's important that you organize your communication in the following way. First of all, it needs to be multi-channel, so both online and offline. And please avoid email. We already said why. Secondly, it has to be sufficiently frequent and consistent. I would say once a month is a minimum, once a week is ideal. It needs to be interactive, so giving employees the opportunity to respond, and of course, in line with your values, your brand, your culture, and fully inclusive. Now, those who have looked very attentively have seen that there are also separate bottles into the communication layer, and those are separate initiatives that are not necessarily a result from the content that comes from above. So it's initiatives like, for example, your Christmas party or your New Year's reception. Maybe you do breakfast sessions with the CEO, or maybe you do, as we did at Sulo, an energy pack that the communication team has sent to all the employees, completed with a letter and a card from the management team. So also this is a very nice initiative. Now the lab is finished, and I said that I would talk about 12 elements. Now we only have heard 11 drivers. Where's the 12th element then? Well, in fact, that is the measuring, because a lab is something scientific and you can measure. And the first thing that we're going to measure is the employee engagement that comes out as a kind of result at the bottom. And we will measure employee engagement by the score on eNPS. And eNPS, that is in fact a simple question that you ask to your employees. How likely is it that you will recommend our organization as a good employee? And then people can score from 1 to 10. You take then the percentage of people that are promoters, so giving 9 and 10, and you take the detractors, so this percentage promoters minus detractors, that gives your eNPS. It's a score that can vary between minus 100 and plus 100. If you arrive at something like plus 50, you already have a very high score. Now, if you do this the first time, you have a score, but it doesn't tell you a lot. So therefore, I would recommend you to also measure the perception of how your different drivers are for your employees. And I would advise you to do that monthly, potentially in a kind of rotation system. So not asking them all 11 every month. The results then, you can make that very visual. You have the laboratory and you see here one in front of you after an assessment where you can see that in this company, the strategic plan is scoring quite high. On purpose and values were halfway, leadership 2, on well-being were very high. So it gives you a very clear feedback that you can give to your people. They don't have to wait like half a year to see the results. And then, of course, it's very important to take action on the drivers that need improvement. And that is, in fact, the perfect bridge to the end of this webinar, where I would like to conclude with employee engagement is a journey, and the journey is more important than the destination. Not everything in your lab has to be perfect. The lab can run without all the tubes and vases being completely full. Every step is one in the right direction. You can continue to strive for improvement, and you know that it never will be finished. Today, we have discussed on how you can steer that journey structurally, namely working on 3 domains: clarify, cultivate, communicate. And because we're in a lab world, I made a formula of it, and it says employee engagement equals C cubed. I'm sure Einstein will be very happy with it. So, what are the main takeaways then for today? I would say my conclusion: be clear on purpose and values, communicate about it, make a sharp plan and be clear about the bears, invest in inspiring leadership, build trust and friendship bonds, and communicate, communicate, communicate. I wish you all the best of luck with that. And I would like to give you now the time for some Q&A. I'm a bit running out of time. I'm very sorry for that. The Dutch version was more strictly into the 50 minutes. I think I talk a bit longer when I talk in English. If ever you need to go, then please feel free to contact me via email or telephone. You can see it on the screen. The pop-up that you see now gives you the possibility to register for free for the next webinar that we will do on January 6th. There will be an extra window popping up. You will not leave this webinar. So please feel free to go to questions and to ask your questions by typing them. Got a nice compliment from someone. Thank you for that. No questions so far. I see that still a lot of people are in the webinar. Can wait a little more. I can pick a question from this morning, maybe. A quick one is someone asked, what about sustainability? You don't mention sustainability as a driver in the system. Well, indeed, that was a very good question, and I reflected upon it. I have to say that I cannot find evidence for it in scientific articles. So it is, let's say, not proven as being a driver. But I can imagine that things are evolving. And that for the moment, if sustainability is very important for you as a company, then I would advise to take it in your purpose and your values. And then again, if it's important for people who want to work with you, they will connect with your purpose and your values, and immediately it will be a driver for them for their engagement. Okay, still no additional questions coming in. And another compliment coming in. Thank you very much. Do you use the same strategy if you mainly work with freelancers? Of course, yes. Give them clarity, create a culture, and communicate. Why would that be different? Freelancers is only a different way of payment, but you can also engage them. At least that's my opinion. Would be nice to discuss on it. There's someone writing, well done, time for wine. Be sure I'll have a good glass of wine after this. Oh, here's another question. It's a good one. I take that as a last. So what's the impact of COVID-19 on employee engagement? We don't have official numbers of Gallup yet, but based on, let's say, conversations we have in different companies, I'm afraid that it will have a negative effect on employee engagement. People tend to disconnect with their company because of the physical distance and the difficulties of connecting with each other. That's why I stressed so much the tips for the leaders in this COVID time. Yeah, very good question indeed. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I need to close the webinar now. Again, feel free to contact me afterwards if you would like to discuss or if you have questions. I would like to thank you very much for your attendance this evening. Wish you a very nice evening. Hope to meet you soon in live. Until then, keep safe and keep healthy. Bye-bye. Oh, I forgot to put on my camera.